A wonderful day to all of us. So, we are now in our lesson 7, and this is solving rational inequalities. Okay, what are rational inequalities? So, last time we defined it as an inequality of rational expressions, wherein one expression or one rational expression can be greater than, less than, greater than or equal, what else? Less than or equal, not equal to the other rational expressions. Okay, so that is the definition of rational inequalities. And here are the steps on how to solve rational inequalities. Number one, or step one, write the inequality as a single rational expression on one side and zero on the other side. Step two, factor the numerator and denominator as much as possible. Step 3, determine where the numerator and denominator are zero. And step 4, mark these meaningful values on a number line. Step 5, test a point within the interior of each interval. And step 6, summarize the solutions. Okay, let us apply these steps or rules in solving rational inequalities. Okay, let us have examples. Find the solutions for the following rational inequalities. Number 1, 3x over x plus 1 is greater than 2. Number 2, 3 over x minus 2 plus 1 is less than 0. Number 3, 2x over x plus 1 is greater than or equal to 0. And number 4, 2 over x minus 6 is less than or equal to 1 over x. Okay, let us now solve the number 1. Number 1 is 3x over x plus 1 is greater than 2. So the first step is to write the inequality as a single rational expression on one side. Okay, and then 0 on the other side. So we're going to make this side, the right side, 0. So we're going to transpose 2 to the other side, and it will become 3x over x plus 1 minus 2 is greater than 0. Okay, so one of the conditions step 1 was done, that one side is 0, but the other side must be a single rational expression. So in here, we have two rational expression, or this is a binomial, so we have to make it as a monomial. So we're going to subtract 3x over x plus 1 with 2. Okay, so how to do that? First, we're going to get the LCD, okay? So when we are talking about the LCD, or the least common denominator, we're going to look at the denominator, of course. And as you can see, the denominator here is isa lang. Ito lang, x plus 1 lang ang meron dito. So this is already our LCD, x plus 1. And then multiply these two expression into x plus 1. So if you're going to multiply 3x over x plus 1 by x plus 1, so we will cancel out x plus 1, and then what is left is 3x. Okay, and then multiply it to negative 2 times x plus 1 is negative 2 times x plus 1. So as you can see here, class, sinusulat pa rin natin yung LCD because this is subtraction. Unlike dati sa rational equation, so that is simplifying rational equation, kina-cancel out na natin yon. Hindi na natin sinusulat ang LCD. But then, this is subtraction. So in subtraction, we need to write still the the LCD as the denominator. Okay, so it will become then 3x minus 2 times x plus 1 over x plus 1 is greater than 0. So as you can see here, our operation here is subtraction. So we have to separate this first. Okay, so it will become 3x minus 2 times x is 2x, and 2 times 1 is 2 over x plus 1 is greater than 0. So since this is subtraction, the condition is to make it into addition, we have to change the sign of the subtrahend. So, para maisama natin siya dito, mai-add natin sa 3x, so we have to change their sign. So, it will become negative 2x and positive 2x will become negative 2. And there, over x plus 1 is greater than 0. 3x minus 2x minus 2 over x plus 1 is greater than 0 is equal to, so you combine the similar terms, that is 3x minus 2x is equal to x. Bring down negative 2 over x plus 1 is greater than 0. So we satisfy the step 1 now. So we have here the single rational expression on one side of the inequality and on the other side is 0. So ganon ang ating step 1. Step 2 is to factor the numerator and denominator as much as possible. So we do not do this because our given is in its simplest form already. Okay? So hindi na siya mafa-factor. At, okay, let us move on with step 3. Step 3, determine where the numerator and the denominator are 0. The answer here are what we call the meaningful values. Okay? So, i-equate daw natin into 0 yung numerator and the denominator. Okay, let us have the answer from step 1 is x minus 2 over x plus 1 is greater than 0. So our numerator here is x minus 2. In step 3, it is stated there that we have to equate it into 0 and find the meaningful value. So x minus 2 equals 0 will become, now you transpose negative 2 to the other side, it will become positive 2. So x is equal to 2. So that is one of the meaningful values. And for the denominator, x plus 1 is equal to 0. Transpose positive 1 to the other side, it will become negative 1. So our meaningful values here now is 2 and negative 1. Okay, so these are the bases of how we are going to find the solution of the uh, given inequality. Okay, so now we are going to test val the we are going to test 2 if it is included in the solution by using the given inequality. I-test natin if this 2, itong basis na 2 ay kasama sa solution. Kasi kapag inequality, we have lots of solutions. Why? For example, the solution to a given inequality is real numbers greater than 1. So what are the real numbers greater than 1? There are lots of it. So 2, 3, 4, and so on and so forth to positive infinity. Okay? So unlike the rational equation wherein there is an exact solution, while in inequality, there are range of solution. There are a lot of solutions. Okay. So now we're going to test if 2 is included in the solution. So we're going to use the given. The original given is 3x over x plus 1 is greater than 2. So in place of x, you're going to substitute 2. So then it will become 3 times 2 over 2 plus 1 is greater than 2. 3 times 2 is 6. 2 plus 1 is 3. Is it greater than 2? 6 divided by 3 is 2 is greater than 2. Is 2 greater than 2? So it is false because 2 is equal to 2. So it means that 2 is not included in the solution, as well as negative 1. Why? Do we have to test negative? Do we need to have to test negative 1 to be part of the solution? Automatically, the 0 in the denominator is not a solution because 0 is not allowed in the denominator. It will make the expression undefined. Okay? So, laging hindi kasama uh, yung magsi-zero out sa denominator kasi it will make your solution extraneous or that is undefined. So, what is our conclusion here? False. 2 is not included in the solution as well as -1 because it will make the expression undefined. Okay? 2 and -1 is not included in the solution, but we are going to use this as the basis of the finding the solution. Okay, step 4, mark the meaningful values on a number line. So you're going to draw a number line wherein you will mark the meaningful values. Our meaningful values are 2 and -1. So you have to locate it. So 0 is here. So -1 is on the left of 0. You just estimate it na lang. And then 2 is of course at the right of 0. So then you will divide this number line. So you draw a, a broken line if the basis is not included in the solution. -1 is not included in the solution, so that is why I draw a broken line, and 2 is also not included in the solution, so I draw a broken line in here. So as you can see here, we uh, we form three areas. Okay, from -1 to the left, or the from -1 to negative infinity. When we say negative infinity, it is those numbers going to negative side up to infinity. Okay, and the middle section is between -1 and +2. Okay, so most probably the numbers here are the whole numbers here are 0, +1. Okay, and then the third area is, or the third interval is from are those numbers greater than 2, from 2 to positive infinity. Okay, so step 5, test a point within the interior of each interval. So now we're going to test on which interval are the solutions. Okay, first we're going to test is if the first interval, those numbers less than -1 to negative infinity, if they are a solution to the given inequality. Okay, so from here, we're going to pick up a value from the first interval. You can choose any number from here, but then this is the tip. The smaller the number is, the easier it is to compute, of course. So let us choose -2 from the first interval. Okay, di ba pa ganon? -2, -3, and so on and so forth. But then I want to choose -2 because it's uh, the smallest. You can, and no, 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 that is not the smallest. That is the smallest whole number. They have their, you can use fractions or decimals from this interval, but then let us choose a whole number to make the computation easier. Okay, so choose a test point inside the first interval. So we chose -2, then substitute -2 to the given inequality. Ito yung original given natin. That is 3x over x plus 1 is greater than 2. So we now substitute -2 in place of x. It will become 3 times -2 over -2 plus 1. So we simply substitute -2 in place of x is greater than 2. Okay, let us perform the operations. 3 times -2 is -6. -2 plus 1 is -1. Is that greater than 2? So -6 over -1 is +6, greater than 2. Is 6 greater than 2? So it's true that 6 is greater than 2. So it means that the first interval is part of the solution. Okay, so let us now pick a number from the second interval. So let's choose 0. So substitute 0 to the given inequality. It will become 3 times 0 over 0 plus 1 is greater than 2. 3 times 0 is 0. 0 plus 1 is 1. Is that greater than 2? 0 over 1 is 0. Is greater than 2. Is 0 greater than 2? It is false. 0 is less than 2, of course. So the second interval is not part of the solution. So yung second interval hindi siya kasama sa solution. Now let us test the third interval. Let us choose a value from here. So let's pick 3, positive 3. Okay, so 3, it will become 3 times 3 over 3 plus 1 is greater than 2. So 3 times 3 is 9. 3 plus 1 is 4 is greater than 2. So 9 over 4 is 2.25. So I convert it into decimal so that we can easily compare their value is greater than 2. Is it true that 2.25 is greater than 2? It's true. So the third interval is also part of the solution. Okay, we are now done with testing the solution. We're now going to step 6. Summarize the solution by using the set builder notation or interval notations. Okay, so there are conditions wherein you can use the set builder notation or interval notation. Let us have this. So our solutions are the first interval or the all real numbers less than negative 1. Okay, yung lahat ng mas mababa sa negative 1. Hindi kasama yung negative 1. Okay, because it will make our denominator undefined. And the third interval, all real numbers greater than 2. 2 is not included because as we test it, 2 is not included in the solution. Okay? In set builder notation, ganito siya ha. It will be read as our solution for x is those numbers greater than 2 but less than negative 1. Okay? Did you get it? So, ganito siya ang set builder. X yung nasa gitna, then greater than. You're going to write here what is that number that what are those solution greater than 2. Dito naman yung less than negative 1. Okay, this is the third interval and this is the first interval. So the answer is x is greater than 2. Lahat ng number na mas malaki sa 2 at lahat ng number na mas maliit sa negative 1. Okay? So, let us move on with number 2. I thought we're finished. Okay, for number 2, we have 3 over x minus 2 plus 1 is less than 0. Okay, step 1, write the inequality as a single rational expression on one side and 0 on the other side. Step 2, factor the numerator and denominator as much as possible. Okay, so the given here, yung one side ng inequality natin is 0 already. So that is a check. And then we're going to make the other side a single rational expression. Since it is binomial, we're going to make it as monomial again by finding its LCD. Okay, what is the LCD? As you can see here, our only denominator is x minus 2. So that is our LCD. Multiply it by x minus 2 times 3 over x minus 2. Cancelled out yung x minus 2. What is left is 3. So, over, you write down the LCD. And then, x minus 2 times 1. Okay, since our operation here is addition already, so no need to change sign. So, you write x minus 2 as it is. Over x minus 1 is less than 0. Okay, let us now simplify. So 3 plus x minus 2. So 3x, copy x, and then 3 minus 2 is 1. So x plus 1 over x minus 2 is less than 0. Okay? So our inequality now is in the single rational expression, yung one side, and the other side is on 0 already. So we can now proceed with step 3. Step 3 is testing if what are the meaningful values or determining the meaningful values. So to do that, we're going to equate the numerator into 0 and the denominator into 0. So x plus 1 is equal to 0. You transpose positive 1, it will become negative 1. And that is x is equal to negative 1. That is one of our meaningful value. Okay, for the denominator, x minus 2 is equal to 0. Transpose negative 2 to the other side, it will become positive 2. So our meaningful values is negative 1 and 2. But then we have to test if these meaningful values are included in the solution. Okay, so by substituting the negative 1 into the given. So here is our original given. 3 over x minus 2 plus 1 is less than 0. So in place of x, we're going to substitute negative 1. Ito lang naman yung may x. So that is 3 over negative 1 minus 2 is less than 0. So 3 over negative 1 minus 2 is negative 3. So 3 over negative 3 is negative 1. Is that less than 0? Of course, negative 1 is smaller than 0. So it is true that negative 1 is included in the solution. So negative 1 is part of the solution, but 2 is not. Still not, because it will zero out the denominator, and that is not allowed. Okay? Step 4, mark the meaningful values on a number line. So the meaningful values are negative 1 and 2 again. So in here, for negative 1, I draw a solid line. Solid line because negative 1 is included in the solution. And 2 is a broken line because 2 is not included in the solution. So there, we form 3 intervals. The first interval is from negative 1 to negative infinity. The second interval is from negative 1 to less than, what is this? Less than 2. From negative 1 to less than 2. And then the third interval is greater than 2 to positive infinity. Okay, let us test a point within each of these intervals to see which are the solutions. Okay, let us choose from the first interval on negative 2 again. So, in place of x, we're going to substitute negative 2. Saan kinuha yung negative 2? Dito sa first interval. Yung mga number na nandito is negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, and so on and so forth. So, 3 over negative 2 minus 2. Sinubstitute lang natin sa x yung negative 2, kaya siya naging ganyan, is less than 0. So, 3 over negative 2 minus negative 2 minus 2 is negative 4. Then, it will become negative 3 over 4 is less than 0. Is negative 3 over 0 is less than, sorry, if is 3 over negative 4 is less than 0. Of course, all negative numbers are less than 0. So, true. The first interval is part of the solution. Okay, from negative 1 to negative infinity. Let's choose a value from the second interval. So, 0 again. Let's choose 0. So, in place of x, we'll substitute 0. So, it will become 3 over 0 minus 2 is less than 0. So, 3 over 0 minus 2 is negative 2 is less than 0. So, 3 over negative 2 is less than 0 is true because nga, all negative numbers is smaller than 0. So, the second interval is part of the solution. Okay, let us now test the third interval. All numbers greater than 2. So, let's use 3. So, 3 over 3 minus 2 is less than 0. So, 3 over 3 minus 2 is 1. 3 over 1 is 3. Is that less than to 0? That is not true. So, false. The third interval is not part of the solution. So, let us move on with step 6, summarize the solution. So, the solutions are first interval and the second interval, wherein the first interval is all real numbers less than or equal, meron na siyang or equal to -1 because -1 is included in the solution. And the second interval are all real numbers less than 2, less than 2. Okay. Kasi, okay. In interval notation, the answer is, so, kapag ganito yung ano natin, ang solusyon natin, we can use the interval notation wherein ilalagay mo lang yung start niya dun sa kung hanggang saan siya, 'di ba? Dito, saan na ba 'yun? Yung solution natin is from here to here. Parang isang area lang siya. Kapag isang area lang siya, ang gagamitin natin yung interval notation kung saan siya nag-start at kung hanggang saan siya. So, ang ating solution is from here, kasama naman yung -1, right? So, pwede na natin siyang pagsamahin. Less than 2, kasi hindi kasama yung 2, up to -infinity. Okay? So, did you get it? Our answer is in interval notation, less than 2 to -infinity. So, let's compare it to our number 1, which is set builder ang ating ginamit. So, kapag ganito, let's have this. Okay, so set builder. Kasi bakit? Dalawa kasi yung area ng answer natin. So, our answer here is the first interval at saka yung third interval. Magkahiwalay sila. Parang naging dalawang area, dalawa siya. Unlike dun sa number 2 na parang pinagsama na siya. So, kapag ganito, yung magkahiwalay yung interval ng solution, we use the set builder notation. Wherein, di ba yung set builder natin, yung solution is greater than 2, mas malaki sa 2, but less than -1. Okay, so let's see. To, x is greater than 2 and but less than -1. May end siya. Okay? Kapag interval notation naman is from here to here. Okay? Saan na ba tayo? Ayan. From less than 2 to -infinity. Yung number 1 is x is greater than 2 and less than -1. Okay? So, I hope you do understand what I'm talking about. Okay, let us have number 3. 2x over x plus 1 is greater than or equal to 0. Step 1, write the inequality as a single rational expression on one side and 0 on the other side. Step 2, factor the numerator and denominator as much as possible. Yan. And now let us check our given. So one side is in 0 already and the other side is a single rational expression already. So okay na. So we can now proceed to step 3, finding the meaningful values. So, sorry. So, we will equate the numerator into 0. So, 2x is equal to 0. So, to get the value of x, kapag ganito, we will going to divide both sides by 0, 2x divided by 2 and 0 divided by 2 so that we can divide out or cancel out 2 in here para x na lang yung maiiwan. Okay? So, lagi naman ganun, yung x ang naiiwan. Joke. Okay? So, yun yung ano natin kasi, goal natin. X lang yung maiwan dito sa left side. And 0 divided by 2 is still 0. So our meaningful value, one of the meaningful value is 0. Let us also equate the denominator into 0. X plus 1 is equal to 0. So x is equal to negative 1. Okay, so our meaningful values are 0 and negative 1. Okay, now let us test if those meaningful values are included in the solution. So negative 1, of course, is not because it will zero out our denominator. But let us test the 0. So from the given, it will become 2 times 0 over 0 plus 1. Is that greater than or equal to 0? 2 times 0 is 0. 0 plus 1 is 1. Is that greater than or equal to 0? 0 over 1 is 0. Is that greater than or equal to 0? Is 0 greater than or equal to 0? The answer is true. Kasi meron tayo ditong or equal, yung bar sa ilalim ng greater than na sign. So, true. 0 is included in the solution, but negative 1 is not part of the solution because it will zero out the denominator. Okay, we can now proceed to step 4. Mark the meaningful values on a number line. So, we'll draw a number line. Our meaningful values are 0 and negative 1. You place your meaningful values properly, ha? 0, negative numbers on the left of the 0 and the positive numbers on the right of the 0. Okay, so negative 1 is not included in the solution. So we draw a broken line and 0 is included. So that is why this is a solid line. So test a point within the interior of each interval. On the first interval, of course, let us choose negative 2. You can use any other number. You can use negative 1,000 if you want. That is okay. So, but then let us use the smaller number to facilitate the computation easier. Okay, so in place of x, from the given, in place of x, we'll go into substitute negative 2. That will become 2 times negative 2 over negative 2 plus 1 is greater than or equal to 0. 2 times negative 2 is negative 4 over negative 2 plus 1 is negative 1 is greater than or equal to 0. Negative 4 divided by negative 1 is positive 4. Is that greater than or equal to 0? Yes, that is true. So the first interval is part of the solution. Kasama itong first interval na to sa solution. Okay. Let us test the second interval. So, yung gitna dito, yung second interval natin, we can choose whole number here. So, choose na lang natin yung 0.5. Nandito yung 0.5. Negative. It should be negative 0.5. Ay, where is it? 4. Okay, let's pick negative 0.5. So, 2 times negative 0.5 over negative 0.5 plus 1 is greater than or equal to 0. So, 2 times negative 0.5 is negative 1. Over negative 0.5 plus 1 is equal to positive 0.5 is greater than or equal to 1. So, negative 1 divided by 0.5 is negative 2. Is negative 2 greater than or equal to 0? Of course, that is false. So, the second interval is not part of the solution. Okay, let us now test the third interval. So, the third interval is all those numbers greater than or equal, greater than 1. Ay, greater than 0 rather. Okay, I forget. Okay, greater than 0. So, let us choose 1. So, 2 times 1, here it goes, over 1 plus 1 is greater than or equal to 0. 2 times 1 is 2. 1 plus 1 is also 2. So, greater than or equal to 0. 2 over 2 is 1. Is that greater than or equal to 0? So, 1 is greater than 0. So the answer is true. The third interval is part of the solution. Okay, let us summarize the solution. So our solution is the first interval, which are the real numbers less than -1. And the third interval is the real numbers which is greater than or equal to 0. Kasi 0 is included in the denominator, in the solution. So, since our solution is two parts, diba? Dalawa siya. From here, from negative 1 to negative infinity at saka tong from 0 to positive infinity. So, kapag dalawang area, we use the set builder notation that x is greater than or equal to 0 and less than -1. Again, so x is greater than or equal to 0. This is the third interval and less than -1. Okay? So, hindi kasama yung -1 kaya wala siyang bar sa ilalim. Okay, let's move on with number 4. So, number 4 is 2 over x minus 6 is less than or equal to 1 over x. Okay, so the first step, we're going to write the inequality as a single rational expression on one side and 0 on the other side. In this case, we have to transpose 1 over x to the other side para maging 0 itong right side. And it will become 2 over x minus 6 minus 1 over x is less than or equal to 0. Okay, 0 out na to. And then, the second condition, these two must be a single rational expression. So we're going to subtract them. So but first find their LCD. So our denominator here is r, x minus 6, and x. So yun na yung ating LCD. X times x minus 6, multiply it to these terms. Okay? So 2 over x minus 6 times x times x minus 6. So, canceled out yung x minus 6. So, let's draw a line here. Shapes. So, cancel out. Kapalan natin yung size. Oh my God. Okay na yan. Yan, cancel out natin yan. And then, cancel din natin yung isa. So, what is left? So, x at saka 2. So, x times 2 is 2x. Okay? Minus. So, kapag subtraction, ibubukod natin yung, we're going to separate the subtrahend because later we're going to change its sign. Then, write the LCD at the denominator. That is x times x minus 6 is less than or equal to 0. But then, wait, we have to multiply yung x times x minus 6 with 1 over x. So, ang makakancel naman dito is yung x. Ang maiiwan ay yung x minus 6 times 1, which is x minus 6. But we have to separate it into the parentheses kasi we're going to change its sign because our operation here is subtraction. Okay? So, let's move on. Bring down 2x. So, yung positive x magiging negative x. Yung negative 6 magiging positive 6 over x minus 6 is less than or equal to 0. Perform the operation. 2x minus x is x plus 6 over x times x minus 6 is less than or equal to 0. So, now we have a single rational expression here and 0 on the other side of the inequality. We can now proceed with step 3, finding the meaningful values. Okay, so we will equate the numerator x plus 6 into 0. So x plus 6 is equal to 0. So transpose 6 to the other side, it will become negative 6. And that is x is equal to negative 6. So that is one of the meaningful value, negative 6. In here, our denominators are do have two factors. So yung isa x and yung isa ay is x minus 6. Kapag dalawang factor yon, so i-equate mo to ng magkabukod. So you will separate them. So x is equal to 0. So that is x already. So 0 is one of the meaningful values. And x minus 6, equate mo din siya sa 0. Okay, and then transpose negative 6 to the other side, it will become positive 6. So in here, we have three meaningful values, negative 6, 0, and positive 6. Okay, so but then we have to test negative 6 if this is part of the solution. So for the denominators, no need to test it because it is excluded already because it will make our expression undefined. Lahat ng value na magzi-zero out sa denominator is not defined, is not included, or that is undefined. Okay, so let's substitute negative 6 in the original given, that is 2 over x minus 6 is less than or equal to 1 over x. So in place of x, substitute negative 6. Ito na yon, negative 6 and negative 6. And let us perform the operation. So 2 over negative 6 minus 6 is negative 12. Is less than or equal to 1 over negative 6 is negative 1, 6. So 2 over negative 12 is 1 over over 6 or negative 1 over 6. Kapag sinimplify natin in its lowest term, is less than or equal to negative 1, 6. So, ano siya? They are equal, right? So, there is an equal sign here. So, it is true. So, true, negative 6 is included in the solution, while 0 and positive 6 are not. Okay? Let's draw the number line. So we have three meaningful values, the negative 6, 0, and positive 6. So as you can see, we form how many intervals? First interval, second interval, third interval, and fourth interval. We have 4 intervals here. So we're going to test each of this interval so that we will know which of them is our resolutions. Okay, Okay, first interval. So those numbers less than negative 6. So let's choose negative 7. Kasi kasunod na negative 6, negative 7. So in place of x from the given, you substitute negative 7. So it will become 2 over negative 7 minus 6 is less than or equal to 1 over negative 7. So 2 over negative 7 minus 6 is negative 13. So that's why it become negative 2 over 13. Kapag division, unlike sign, the answer is negative. Is less than or equal to negative 1/7. So kapag ganito, hindi nyo makita kapag fraction yung kung alin yung greater or lesser, you can divide it. So that your answer will be a decimal number. It is easier to identify the value in decimal. Okay? So, negative 2 over 13 is negative 0.15. Di-divide mo lang siya. Is that less than or equal to negative 0.14? So, kapag negative numbers, the higher the number, lesser yung value niya. So, negative 0.15 is of course less than negative 0.14. That is true. So, that the first interval from negative 6 to negative infinity is included in the solution. Let's choose a value from negative 6 between 6 and 0. Between 6 and 0, anong pinili natin? Negative 1. Okay? So, in place of x, substitute negative 1. Negative 1 here and in here. So 2 over negative 1 minus 6 is less than or equal to 1 over negative 1. So 2 over negative 1 minus 6 is negative 7 is less than or equal to negative 1. So negative 2 over 7 is of course less than or equal to negative 1. So true, the second interval is part of the solution. Let's test the third interval. Third interval, we're going to choose numbers. Where is it? Between 0 and 6. What? I chose 3. So in place of x, we will substitute 3. So 3 in here, 3 in here. It will become 2 over 3 minus 6 is less than or equal to 1 over 3. So 3 minus 6 is negative 3. So that's why it becomes negative 2/3. It's less than or equal to positive 1/3. So negative 2/3 is of course less than 1/3. So true. The third interval is part of the solution. Let's test the fourth interval. So fourth interval are those numbers greater than 6. So let's choose 7. 7, where is it? Yan. So in place of x, we will substitute 7. It will become 2 over 7 minus 6 is less than or equal to 1/7. 2 over 7 minus 6 is 1 is less than or equal to, why is it 1/3? It should be 7. 1/7. Okay. 2 over 1 is 2. Is less than or equal to 1 over 7. Okay. And that is false. 2 is of course greater than 1/7. So the fourth interval is not part of the solution. Okay, let's summarize the solution. Our solutions are the first interval, second interval, and the third interval. Okay. So first interval, all real numbers less than or equal to negative 6. Okay. And then the second interval, all real numbers less than 0 to negative 6. And the third interval, all real numbers between 0 and 6. So as you can see here, our solution is in 3 areas. So our answer is in interval notation and in set builder notation. In set builder notation, ano yun nandito? X is greater than 0. That is, yung nasa gitna. Greater than 0 but less than 6. Ito yung interval number 3. Between 0 and 6. Ito yun. And then, less than 0 to negative infinity. Sana yun. Less than 0 to negative infinity. Yung first and second interval. Ito yung nasa interval notation. And sa set builder, ito. Greater than 0 but less than positive 6. Okay? So that's all for today. This is your summative test number 7. You solve for x. So number 1, 12 over x plus 2 is greater than negative 2. Number 2, x minus 1 over x plus 3 is greater than or equal to 0. Number 3, 2 over x is less than 1 over x minus 3. Number 4, 2x minus 6 over x minus 5 is less than or equal to 0. Okay, again, you can choose where you can answer this. You can answer this through the link that I will give to you, and you can answer it on a piece of paper and then you submit it during our retrieval. Okay, so that's all for today. Have a wonderful day, class. Goodbye.